What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Links and Locks podcast, the betting edition for the Players Championship. A big one this week, the flagship event of the PGA Tour. And you know it's a big one because we're together. I'm Jason Sobel of GolfBet. He's Ben Everill of the PGA Tour, and we are sitting on site at TPC Sawgrass. Benny, you and I don't get to do pods next to each other very often. How cool is this?
Yeah, mate, sensational stuff. G'day to everyone out there. It's obviously, as you said, a huge week this week, and it's always nice to be in your company, champion. Look, we just get to kick about and have a bit of fun, and it should be a massive week.
We're a little close. Your knee's touching me right now, but yeah, we'll figure that out as we go through the pod.
You know you love it.
As always, maybe a little. As always, we're going to go through 18 holes, our 18 favorite bets of the week. Benny, as always, you are first on the tee here at the Players Championship. Swing away.
Mate, first hole, I found this bet, and I just could not let it go. One of those triple chance options that you get where you get to pick three guys. I think it was DraftKings, and a triple chance that had these three players as your options. Adam Scott.
Okay.
Marc Leishman. And Cameron Smith. Now,
they all come from...
they're Aussie boys.
A land down under?
That's it, mate. Look, the plus 1,200 number, I don't know if I'm that excited about that number, but how can I let that one go? I can't let that one slide through. Can't let it go to the catcher. So I've had a swing, and I think that, there's something there. Adam Scott's actually playing his 20th Players Championship.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and he was the 2004 champ. Then you've got Leish, who's struggled a bit at Sawgrass, but you never know. He's been rounding out into some form. And Cameron Smith, obviously, he's a local here these days. He lives not far from the course. He did okay last time out here. His first sort of half-decent showing, a top 20. So just for all my Aussie friends out there, have a look at that one.
He is indeed the Aussie whisperer. So when he speaks Australian, you might want to listen. All right, let's go to hole 2. I'm going to start out with the top 5 play. And when last we saw Daniel Berger, things were not very good. He was the 54-hole leader at the Honda Classic 2 weeks ago. That turned out with a 4th place finish. So I know he was disappointed, but I think he can bounce back, and I think he can bounce back in a big way on a golf course that really should suit his game a lot this week. Top 5 at plus 800. I think that's a really good number for Daniel Berger this week. So I'm going to start my card there.
I love that play, mate. He's obviously the big on that strokes gained approach stat. That's huge at TPC Sawgrass for March winners. So I'm really big fan of that. I'll go to my top 10 then. How about that?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right, let's go. My top 10 on the third hole. Looking at another international, but not an Aussie, Louis Oosthuizen. I think he's had one runner-up, obviously, at the Players. He's the type of ball striker you need around this sort of thing. Will he win? We always talk about that. He doesn't have a lot of value in terms of winning most weeks. He hasn't only done that one time on the PGA Tour back in 2010. So as a top 10, though, plus 450, I don't mind that. And look, most of my bets this week, I've actually added a sort of a B option, if you will. And so my B option here is a guy that I was going to be big on, got a little gun shy after last week, and that's Will Zalatoris. Another guy who, in that strokes gained, strokes gained approach in our March winners, I think it's 4 of the last 5, or all 5 of 6 have been, in the top 5 of strokes gained approach. So Zalatoris, he leads the tour this year in that stat. So another reason for me to have a look at him.
Look, I love Zalatoris, but I loved him a lot more 7 days ago when I thought he was going to win the API than after he made more bogeys than me over the last 54 holes at Bay Hill. And so, maybe tougher conditions too. But yeah, I still like Zalatoris. I think that's a nice play. All right, I'm going to go on hole 4 with my top 10 play. And I'm going with the guy that tends to play his best golf on Florida golf courses. He's won in Florida before at the Honda Classic. He's had a couple of top 5s at the API, and he's played decent in just a limited, I believe just one start here at the Players Championship. But Sungjae Im's game should really be a good fit for TPC Sawgrass. I'm looking for that trending upwards, not the guy who's played his best golf over the last few weeks, but the guy who's about to play his best. Remember, he took a few weeks off and then came over to Florida. So I still think he's getting back into it. The PGA Tour's Iron Man, who maybe wasn't used to coming off a few weeks off. So now he's getting back into the flow of things on a week in, week out basis. A top 10 plus 450 for our guy Sungjae.
Why do you keep doing guys I can't find fault with? I can't smash any of our international guys. I think
you're sitting next to me, and I'm worried you're going to punch me if I start playing guys you don't like.
All right, I'm going to go to first round leader. And what a surprise. Again, I've got a guy that is not American, another international star, Hideki Matsuyama is my pick.
Oh.
And by the way, like have a look at him across all the top markets. Okay. I think that he's a big chance. But the reason I've gone first round leader is I think that obviously we had the 2020 players where he went out and shot the 63 that doesn't exist.
Right.
You're
not going to find that. Remember,
doesn't exist.
You're not going to see that in any record book. So he shot 63 and then the tournament was canceled the next day.
And
so you won't find it anywhere, but he did it. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. He tied the course record.
And the funny thing about that too is they tried to find maybe a loophole that they could make it, count just as a record. But one player didn't finish their round that day, had a putt to go. One player didn't finish that round out to make it an official round of any description. So he did not get that. And look, I saw too that you can get him across, you can be in the first round, top 5 after the first round as well. And that was sort of decent value as well, I think, for Hideki. So what was that, 600 or something?
I really like those plays. And usually it's only for the big events. We know the Players' Championship, obviously a big event when you can go top 5 in the first round. All right. You gave your first round leader. I'll give mine as well. Abraham Ancer has played each of his last 4 Thursday rounds in the 60s. Now, he's gone kind of in descending order. He went 66, then 67, 68, 69. I wish the trend was going the other way, but still, all 4 in the 60s. He's finished 12th and 22nd in his 2 starts on this golf course. He's got a morning tee time like Matsuyama, I believe, correct?
That's right.
And so I do think that's going to help on this golf course on Thursday, knowing the weather that's going to come through here. And we'll talk about that as well. But Abraham Ancer at 65-1 for a first round leader play. He's one of those guys that has not played his best golf. Only one finish inside the top 30 so far in 2022. But I think you can get some good numbers on him, not only for Thursday, but through the entire course of the 4-round tournament.
All right, mate, the 7th hole.
7th hole.
I'm going to the 7th hole. I'm going to my top 40. Now, you sort of referenced there. We do need to let people know that as of Monday when we're doing this, the weather report is not necessarily great for the rest of the week in terms of potential thunderstorms and whatnot.
No, let's go through it. It looks like, from everything I'm seeing, Thursday and Friday, 80% chance of rain. There's going to be some serious storms that come through this place. It's going to be hot, rainy, wet, muddy. And then on the weekend, all of a sudden it completely reverses. We get cooler weather, highs in the low to mid 50s, and wind. It's going to be a 2 to 3 club wind. It's going to look, could look very much like the Arnold Palmer Invitational did this past weekend. So we could see some massive juggling on the leaderboard. Yeah,
mate, it could go. We won't really know how it's all going to play until we get closer to those days in terms of that forecast. But you mentioned API and how it finished. So a guy from my top 40 bet this week is someone who finished strong there at API and snuck miles up the leaderboard without anyone noticing. Lucas Herbert, top 40 bet here.
Yeah.
Lucas is a rank outsider this week, being a first timer at the Players, which doesn't help. But if it gets wet and windy, this guy knows how to play in the wind. He's also done well on the European Tour. He's a couple of time winner over there when things get hairy. His top 40 number was like 275, 68, as I said, to finish Bay Hill. I think there's some value there.
I'll give you my top 40s in just a few minutes. But first, 8th hole, I'm going to go with the top 20 play. And it's a guy that shouldn't surprise anybody. And I expect him to be on a lot of cards this week. Matt Fitzpatrick playing some of the best golf of his life. It's a very conservative play with the top 20 on him. I don't mind top 10, maybe even top 5. Or if you want to play him outright, if you look at his total strokes gained this season, only Collin Morikawa has been better. He is leading Jon Rahm, in fact, who's 3rd on that list. What does that say? Well, he's playing really, really good golf. He's starting to get those results. Top 10 finish at API this past weekend. He likes playing tough golf courses as well. If the weather does indeed make this a really hard weekend of golf, you can see Fitzpatrick going out there and only having to post a couple of birdies on the weekend and just not making too many mistakes. Top 20 is, like I said, at plus 175. A very conservative play, but one which should pay off.
Love it, mate. I'll close out the front 9 with my top 20 guys then. Okay, my top 20 bets this week is a couple of guys at 200. So plus 200, again, somewhat conservative, but I like the look of the ball strikers, as we talked about on approach. Joaquin Niemann, the winner at the Genesis Invitational, for me, is someone that potentially with the weather could, bombs it out there. He's going to be able to take sort of aim at the pins with his approach game. I like Niemann at 200. And then one guy who generally doesn't play well unless it's a week like this, Brooks Koepka. I think there at 200 is potential value. If he fires up this week, as he usually does for the massive events, he could be an outlier that people are forgetting about.
I see what's going on there. You, PGA Tour employee, are suggesting that the Players' Championship is a major, and therefore Brooks Koepka will play well. I see what you're doing there. Very
Something
sneaky,
like that.
but A little subtle. I like that. Okay. 10th tee with a whole bunch of top 40s. These guys range from plus 160 to plus 200. I like these guys for low-end DFS plays. I like these guys for top 40s. All solid plays. I'm not picking any names you don't know, but you go a little bit further down the list and you can find a bunch of guys. Here's a six-pack. Russell Knox, Francesco Molinari, Brian Harman, CT Pan, Aaron Wise, and Matt Kuchar. And Matt Kuchar, I throw in there at the end. Let's remember, Benny, each of the last two editions of the Players' Championship, we've seen a 47-year-old Lee Westwood finish runner-up last year. The edition before that, remember, they didn't play 2020. Back in 2019, a 48-year-old Jim Furyk finished runner-up. If you're looking for a 40-something who maybe you're not quite thinking about, maybe a Matt Kuchar week, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Mate, I don't mind the premise. I just don't know if Kuchar's going to be the old bugger that does it. You know, Adam Scott's in his 40s, isn't he? So
well, I'm looking for a guy in his 40s that no one's talking
That's
about.
true.
Adam Scott is still
and he does have some history there.
Cooch,
I do remember actually it was your question, wasn't it? The ATM question when Cooch won.
It was in the press conference right after Matt Kuchar won 10 years ago this week when I said, "Hey Matt, you know, how does it feel to finally get off the schneid and win a big event?" He goes, "Feels great. So why don't you go suck it, Sobel?"
It was one of my favorite lines of all time.
Yeah, it was one of Matt's favorites too.
Oh dear. All right, we're hitting this back nine, as you said, at Sawgrass, which is where all the entertainment is, right? So I better throw out some long shots and some options for people to look at to get a bit of lottery feel and maybe get a big payout. So my long shot to look at are two former champions, not that far removed champions at Sawgrass.
Matt Kuchar?
No. Siwoo Kim.
Yeah.
He's just a peak dice specialist.
Yes, he is.
Absolute specialist. And
love it.
He can go hardcore at any moment on this course, yet still the youngest ever players winner. The sort of guy that I think could come out of nowhere, and at the 80, 90 to 1, even 100 to 1 plus that you see, definitely worth a nibble, I think. And the other one will surprise people given the news of last week, but Jason Day, 80, 90, 100 as well. The 2016 champion, he obviously sadly lost his mother in her battle from cancer last week, but he is intending to play. And I feel like the emotion could go one way or the other, but if it does go in the right direction, he may well put himself up there and around the mark. So again, I saw there was one market too that from these big ones, which is low round of the week. I could see Jason Day throwing up a 64, 65 one day and staying around the periphery of contention for one or two, 3 rounds. So just someone to think about.
If you're one of these people that bets based on narratives, Jason Day has a great narrative this week. Look, condolences to the Day family. It's terrible that he's going through this right now, but maybe, kind of playing in his mother's memory would be an amazing story this week. So I think a lot of people rooting for Jason. Okay, I will get here to the 12th hole and go with a matchup here. I'm trying to figure out a way to get Sam Burns in. I really like Sam Burns' game, much like Abraham Ancer. He's a guy that maybe hasn't played his best golf yet this year, but that just means the price is a little bit longer. And I like him at even money against the name that you mentioned, Joaquin Niemann. It's not like I really want to fade Niemann this week, but I really do like Sam Burns back on Bermuda Burns. Hey, it should all match up. I'm going to wipe the slate clean of those 3 miscuts on the West Coast and hope that he's back to playing his better golf here in Florida.
That sounds like a side bet between you and me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we might have to do something there.
Done.
Sweet. All right. Where are we up to? We're going to hole 13. All right. I'll go to a top 5 here. So I'll go from being sort of long shot to more conservative again. Guy that for some reason doesn't seem to hit the people's chat so often in these big events, but who suits this place brilliantly, Collin Morikawa. I think that he has to be in your thoughts when you're talking all the sort of top 5, 10 outright, etc. First round later, anything you can think of, although I think he's in the afternoon and day one. I feel like Morikawa is big and set for this. It is his type of golf course. He is, again, as we talked about, one of those players that's way up in the strokes gained approach statistic. So I think you can't leave him out of any sort of talk this week.
I'm going to talk a whole lot about Collin Morikawa in just a minute. First, I'm going to jump in here at hole 14 and steal one of your plays. Usually, Benny, we get on the podcast together. We're on opposite ends of the country. You're on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. It's like a Biggie Tupac kind of battle between us. But since we're in person together, I looked over your shoulder at your notes and I saw that you had plus 150 for no hole in one. Look, it's no fun to root against holes in one, but plus 150 seems like a pretty good number to not have an ace, not have something drop into the hole this week. So I'll take that plus 150 number.
Yeah, look, I did have that one written down. Now, part of that too is because this weather we talked about, right? I know it'll be wet and so they can sort of take aim, but if the wind is up, if things are slimy, and look, anytime you're saying that there'll definitely be a hole in one, I think you're reaching, aren't you, a little bit? So if you see a plus number, that looks juicy to me. But
the only problem is, I mean, we're sweating that out through all the final groups on 17 on Sunday. Go, come on, don't go with the hole.
Yeah.
Don't go with the hole. Come on, just one more guy. Get through it. Okay.
Sensational. All right. So now you forced me to go elsewhere.
Okay.
So I was looking at those matchups as well. And again, I don't like to sort of show the negative side of things, but when I saw that I could get plus 100 for the defending champion, Justin Thomas, who I also think has to be looked at across all your outrights, 5s, 10s, etc. Over Jon Rahm, who still sits as equal favorite for this event, despite the fact that he has not shown any great form of late, struggling with his putter. Could he come out of nowhere and do well? Yes, of course. But while I've got the odds of the guy that I think is going to do great against him, it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Justin Thomas has been knocking on the door for the past year, waiting to add another win to that tally. It's been a year since that win, and I wouldn't surprise me if JT is the first back-to-back winner here at the Players' Championship. Okay, hole 16. We mentioned Collin Morikawa. I'm going to start out my Morikawa bets with a group bet on DraftKings, taking Morikawa in a 5-some at plus 275 over Hideki Matsuyama, Viktor Hovland, Xander Schauffele, and some guy named Adam Scott. Do you like that guy? Look, it's not that I want to fade those other guys, but I don't have them top 5 or really those guys in top 10 on my list this week. I have them just below that. And so Morikawa is a guy that I really like. I'm going to talk more about him in a minute. I don't want to give you everything just yet, but Morikawa in that 5-man group this week.
All right, so 17th hole for me. My last crack at this. Obviously, I'm going to give you my
17.
outrights.
Don't go in the water on 17. Yeah. You want to aim for the middle of the green.
Here's the thing. I made this choice before Sunday at API, and I've been gung-ho on this for a couple of weeks. This guy doing well here. But if I am worried about the water ball on 17, it is what happened sort of yesterday somewhat, and that's Viktor Hovland, 20-1. I still like him as long as some of that short game, especially bunker play, is not in his head from the last few days at Bay Hill. If he's able to sort of refresh himself and get ready, again, he's a ball striking machine. He just gets overlooked by almost everyone in these markets. It doesn't get the respect I think he deserves. He's an out-and-out stud and star, and with an Aussie caddy, I love him to bits. I feel like if he can stay out of the sand, maybe he's good value there at 21. And the other guy, I can't look past when I saw the forecast is Rory. I know he faded as well at API. I know he's angry about how that went, but he started on fire. 16-1 I saw. When it gets wet, he bombs it. He loves it. And, he's a former champion as well. I just think that plays into his hands.
I'm going to go with my favorite outright. I'd love to give you, Benny, a guy with a big number, but quite frankly, we haven't seen a Craig Burks win here in a while. We haven't seen a Fred Funk win here in a long time. It's been Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Webb Simpson before that. It's been the bigger names as of late. And so I'm looking at another big name. I think you've got to do everything well at TPC Sawgrass. This is a course that tests every aspect of your game. And so my favorite outright this week is a guy who leads the PGA Tour in total strokes gained, leads the all-around category. That means he's doing everything really well. That could portend a win this week. He's not afraid of being in the hunt at a big-time tournament. Collin Morikawa, 16-1 is my favorite outright this week. I get it. Might be a little chalky. I don't care. I think he's primed and ready to win this thing this week. Remember, didn't play great last year, a 41st place finish, but in his first start at the Players, a final round 66, maybe just foreshadowing a little bit.
I love that. Look, as I said, I had him as my top 5. I was just trying to see if we grab up his tee time to be certain, but I think he might be in that afternoon.
Yeah,
wave the first day, which only tells me that maybe put some on before we start the tournament, but then save some back in case he drifts just a little.
Yeah,
because I feel like once he comes in off that, he might go sort of slow start, but then his second round will be big when he goes out early, and then he'll be there when the whips are cracking, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Benny, this has been so much fun in person. You and I'm wearing one of my favorite t-shirts that says, I like golf and maybe 3 people. Ben, you're like 4th on that list.
Exactly.
You were so close, man. I was going to bet on you top 3, but I couldn't quite get it in. Good luck to everybody out there for the Players Championship. Remember, you can download, subscribe, listen, and rate the Links and Locks podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast. Again, good luck with all those tickets for the Players this week. Here's hoping you hit the green.